Hey there, folks. Welcome again to another Wednesday Win Shot. No Jesse again on this one, but we do have a special guest with us. We have got Greg, formerly of the Brute Scale, Big Greg from the Four Horsemen Studio. What's going on, Greg?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, Curtis?
Man, I'm just excited. We're gonna, these Wednesday one shots are always stuff that we're recommending to people, stuff that we enjoy, and I think we've got a fun one today.
Oh
I've got
yeah,
my hair all ready to go for it.
I see it.
Because we are talking about the series Shogun.
Ooh,
Yeah, which I mean, there's been several good kind of samurai shows and movies and stuff this past
yeah.
year. I know Blue Eye Samurai was amazing, and then I heard
Gem.
people start talking about this one, and I was like, man, I got to check it out. And you know, at this point that we're recording this, we've both watched through episode 7. We're gonna try to avoid as many spoilers as we can. There's 2 episodes left in the season. But yeah, I mean, what are you liking about the series so far, Greg?
Uh the the whole look of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
The clothes that they use, just everything is really good, man. I gotta say it's very pleasant on the eyes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I mean, starting out, it's kind of dire at the beginning. They've got these folks that are from England, that are traveling. They're looking for Japan. They don't even know if they really are going the right way or if it
Yeah,
exists or whatever. And they're in a bad way. They've lost several
yeah,
ships, and they're not doing so hot. But basically, a few of them make it. And this this isn't really spoiler because it's kind of the first, right from the first episode. But one of the main characters is one of these Englishmen that lands on the island. And
Blackthorn.
yeah, and he has some adventures, and there's some kind of learning what their culture is like. There's like a power struggle going on within Japan at this time. And there's just a lot of stuff that goes into this, and I think the biggest thing for me has just been to see kind of how their culture was
Yeah,
at that point. I love these shows that kind of include a little bit of like historical accuracy as well as being entertaining and building characters and stuff. So yeah, it's from that aspect, it's been fun. I will say there is a lot of reading, because
a
unless
lot
you
of reading.
unless you speak Japanese, there is a lot of subtitles. There is a translator that the main guy will work with. So
Yeah.
occasionally they're speaking English, but a good portion of this they're speaking Japanese. So if you don't speak Japanese, be prepared for a lot of reading.
You got to put your phone down. This isn't
Yes.
one of the shows where you could watch and listen and play with your phone. There was a couple of times that I was on the phone and I looked up and I was like, "Oh man!" I just put the phone down. Had to jump back a couple things, and instead of being a 45-minute show, it became a hour and 10 minutes because I kept having to go back a few times and reread a
Yep.
lot. But it's very entertaining, and it keeps you. It's one of the shows that really keeps you in it because everything that they're talking about is very in the moment, and very good.
Yeah. I actually find it good that I have to do so much reading with the subtitles because, like you said, I have to put my phone down because there's a lot
Yeah,
of shows, especially, sometimes in a show you'll get to, either a slow spot of an episode or a slow spot of the season, and you may kind of miss some of it while you're multitasking or whatever. But this
yeah.
really does make you focus on it. Like this isn't something you can, paint and listen to, or,
No, no.
do something for work and listen to.
Yeah,
You've got to really focus on it. um and to your point, there's a lot of cool stuff with the scenery, with the attire. It's just it's very well done. Just the costumes and everything. But then also the characters, and seeing kind of um the difference between like how females and males were treated in their culture at that point.
Oh, yeah.
you know, what their roles were based on their family and their family's legacy. So that there's a lot to it going on.
Yeah, especially, you know, like with Blackthorn coming in, and they call him a savage, and you know that he's dirty and this and
Mhm.
that, and him seeing him from his culture and the way things are in England compared to what is being flipped with how they do it, and he sees how the men are treating the women a certain way. You
Mhm.
know, it's very good, man, and it's very intellectual where you learn very much about that culture. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you kind of want to go out and read more about that time period and see
yeah,
what's going on, because like one of the things is you know, before they land there, you know, the Portuguese were already going there, and they've
correct,
established some like Catholic churches and things like
yes,
that. And you know, so then it's, you know, you get to see a little bit about how the Catholic Church was trying to influence things in that region, and how they were
hmm,
playing a role into the different politics and the stuff going on.
correct,
So, yeah, there's just a lot of cool, interesting historical details, and then you know, there's, you know, the individual struggles. You know, there's characters that are going through some stuff. You know, there's the one female character that acts as the main translator.
yeah,
You know, she doesn't have what I would consider to be a great life. You know, she's got
no,
a
yeah, she
husband that
rough,
she's not, yeah, she's not too fond of. You know, she really just doesn't want to be there. She wants to not be alive
yeah,
anymore, but she has to keep going on because that's her duty. That's her
yeah,
responsibility. That's the role that she has to play. Um, and, you know, seeing how she kind of deals with that, and how, um, you know, she relates to Blackthorn and to, you know, um, you know, the other like priests and stuff from the Catholic Church and
hmm,
things like that. So, you know, her story is one that's unique. You know, Blackthorn's obviously, you know, he's trying to,
yeah,
you know, he's trying to establish relationships with Japan, but at the same time, he wants
trying
his
to stay
ship back.
alive,
Yeah, he's got to stay alive. He wants his ship back. He wants his men back, and he keeps kind of like they keep kind of teasing him that, you know, hey, you're gonna get your ship, you're gonna get your men, but not yet, you know. And it
yeah,
just kind of keeps
yeah,
going on and on.
yeah.
And then he finds himself kind of in this struggle between, you know, different factions within the Japan. So yeah,
But
uh,
yeah, like the last episode was really really full of, like I would say the last two episodes were really
mhm,
nonstop action, you know, kind of
mhm,
where it was really interesting on how the whole power switch, and they kind of flipped it on Toranaga, and you're gonna see how he becomes a shogun, because right now he's not even a shogun yet.
mhm,
There wasn't a shogun just yet, because they had the whole courtship where they had the different leaders from different things, and they kind of came together. So now we're gonna see how he becomes a shogun and how it flips, because he's like almost at the dire where he's just giving up, but
mhm,
there's a bigger plan behind it because he's a genius. He's a
mhm,
strategic genius. And like the last episode, not really spoiler, but he's talking to somebody, and they kind of ask him certain questions like, why would you do certain things? And, you know, and he just sits back and he kind of looks at things. And I don't want to do any spoilers because I want people to really see it, because this is really some cool stuff, man.
yeah. And I think the period is super interesting too. Much like, you know, I was referencing Blue Eye Samurai before. This is kind of that same time period where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, firearms are kind of being introduced, but it's not like
Hmm.
firearms as we know it today. Obviously, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
flintlock guns and stuff like that. But they
It's
do
very
have,
early.
right, very early. So it's like, you know, they're still doing a lot of fighting with, you know, with bow and arrows, with swords. You know, the firearms that they do have are really more kind of close quarters firearms,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, other than cannons,
Cannons.
which are playing a big part of this series.
Whew.
And man, if you ever want to see some cannon fighting, this has got some of that for you. There's some interesting cannon fighting going on.
And even when they were escaping on a ship,
Mhm.
and they jumped on the Portuguese ship, to plow through, and Blackthorn stayed in the other one, and he kind of just was like, I'm not staying behind. I'm just gonna go
Mhm.
for it. And just how fate kind of plays in his favor in a way, where he
Yeah.
just got lucky and he was able to sneak through and actually make it.
Yeah, and I find it because I don't know exactly what his end goal is or what his motives are. But I do find it interesting that he's working very hard to understand their culture and to
Yeah,
make sure that he's not insulting anyone or doing
correct.
anything that would offend them and stuff like that. So he's trying to do that, but at the same time, he's also frustrated with the situation and not having his ship and not having his men. So it's but it's a fine line that you got to walk, because if he makes the wrong person mad, he could just be gone.
Gone.
So
And I
yeah.
think that little ship scene is where Toranaga really gained a lot of respect for him,
Mhm,
because he's seen the heart that guy has, and
mhm.
that's where he was like, you know what? I think I could use this. I could use him, because the heart that he showed is what really made him give him certain ranks and certain places when they finally got to where they got to. I think it was Ito.
Yeah, and but that also causes some strife too, because you've got all
Yeah,
these other folks that are underneath Toranaga that are trying to make a name for themselves and trying to prove themselves and earn that respect and earn those titles, and then you see this guy come in and he doesn't even speak your
hmm,
language, he doesn't know your culture, and he's kind of given some of these things, and it caused a little dissension and
yeah,
some upset feelings. So just kind of navigating those waters is
yeah.
made it very interesting to watch.
And that's what kind of keeps everything on the edge, because any second you feel like somebody can get their head chopped off.
Yep, absolutely.
That's pretty much what it is. Any second you can get your head chopped off. You say the wrong thing, you make a wrong move. I mean, he almost got his head chopped off quite a few times already.
Yep. Yeah. So right now I'm watching it on Hulu. I think it's like coming out on FX.
Hmm.
So like if you have cable, it's on FX. And there's 2 more episodes left. I believe there's one as we're filming or recording this. There's one more tonight. And then I believe there's another one on the 15th, which will be the last one of the season. So great series so far. It's only the first season. I'm positive this thing is good enough that they're going to be making more seasons of this. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
check it
sure.
out.
Yep, you got to check it out.
Yeah. Anything else before we close it out that people going into this, anything they should expect, or any recommendations for them?
Just put your phone down.
There you go.
That's
That is
really the main thing with this, is put your phone down. And now, since if you haven't watched it, you're several episodes in. If you're going to binge watch it, you're going to spend those 7 hours really sitting back and watching and reading. Like it's some dedicated time, but it's very worth it.
Yeah, and on top of that, I would say try to avoid like any distractions. Like,
Yeah,
if like this is one that I found for me was best after everybody in the house was asleep. You know,
yeah,
I would put this on and watch it, and there was no distraction. I didn't have any kids asking me questions. I didn't have the dog like asking to go outside. I didn't have, mailman at the door and dogs going crazy. Didn't have work calls or anything like that. So on top of the phone, I would say just try to make sure you're giving it your utmost focus, because keeping up with the dialogue and seeing everything that's going on, all the different interactions from the nonverbal cues and stuff like that is really
hmm,
important in this series. But
yeah,
if you check it out, I think it's one that you probably will enjoy, because the characters are really good, the story's done
yeah.
well. And it has that little historical vibe to it that makes you kind of want to learn a little bit
Hmm.
more. So
And I'm really looking forward to season 2 already, because that's where a lot of things are going to really happen. Like, I looked into
mhm.
some of the history already because I couldn't
Yep.
wait.
Mhm.
So I started looking into things, and it got me even more excited to see how they're going to do the play-ons, because this isn't based on actual, the names of the characters they're using aren't actual characters. They
Mhm.
use certain people that were actual characters. They just flipped the names and a couple of different little things that they moved
Yep.
around. So some people that are in the history, they're like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. But if you're not too far in the history and you could accept a couple changes of things and
Yeah.
appreciate what it is and the art, because it's very artsy and scenic. You know, the certain scene that you're going to see, it's very, very artsy kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a documentary or
No,
you know, a
no.
biopic or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you know, from the stuff that I've looked at and researched on it. There's a lot of accuracies in it, and as far as what was going on in that time period. But yeah, to your point, there's characters in this that I think they kind of drew from historical, like a conglomeration of different characters,
Correct.
and like
And
pieced it
different
together
time
and say,
frames.
right, exactly. So so it's not a documentary, but it's fun. It does have a little bit of that historical vibe to it, and I think it's one that you guys will enjoy. So
Absolutely.
yep. Well, Greg, thanks for hanging out and
Thanks for having me.
Wednesday One Shot. And everybody check out Shogun, and we will see you back here next week for another Wednesday One Shot. Thanks a lot.
Let's do it.